So today what I wanted to go over with you all are numbers, or los números, and from there we're going to do some math equations. I have this sort of sitting over here to remind you guys when we transition to math. So what there's really two things I want to accomplish today with you all. Running through the numbers 1 through 100, right? 0 to 100, not 1 to 100, 0 to 100. And so we're going to start right there, and then we will end right there. And then on top of that, use those numbers with math equations. And so as you'll see, we'll do más, which is plus, menos, which is minus, and then es, and son, which is your equivalent in English to equals, right? And we'll work on that after we get through the numbers. And so what I want to do now for you all is run through all the numbers to 100 and pronounce them for you all, and then we will, as a group, start to work with them. So let me run through these with you guys really briefly. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. And then from 30 forward, we're just going to do the tens, right? And I'll explain how to use or integrate these numbers into all of these up to 100. And so we have, with 30, we have 30, 40, 40, 50, 50, 60, 60, 70, 70. Take note of that slight difference. 80s, 80, 90, 90, and then 100 is 100. Just 100, 100 is 100. Once you get beyond that, it becomes ciento, for example. And so this is the only one that is just 100. So take note of that. The other thing I want to bring your attention to is, so for example, with 40 will become, if you want to say 41 through 49, for example, will be 40 y, and then one of these numbers over here. So for example, 43 would be 40 y 3, right? And so 55, for example, would become 50 y 5, and these are three separate words. Whereas in the 20s, as you can see, it's one complete word sort of squeezed together, where instead of a Y, you have an I, right? And so instead of it being 24, it's 24. So it's one word, sort of what was probably historically three words squeezed into one. In much of the same way, your teams, starting with 16 to 19, do much of the same thing. If you notice, sort of built in there, you have 10, and then y, right? And then your 6 in the example of 16. So instead of it being 10 y 6, it became 16, like squeezed together. Now that model, if you will, changes when we get to 30. So 31 would be 31, all the way through 39, and 39 would be 39, for example. And then, of course, it goes without saying, you move on to 40, 40. And so the good thing about this is that if you can remember, say, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, you really, knowing those and then knowing 1 through 9, you really can dial in these numbers quite well. One of the examples I gave the other day in a different class was, what is the large drink that you all get at Starbucks, the real tall one? What is it called? A venti, right? How many ounces is that? 20 ounces. What's the bigger one? How many ounces is that? 30. Right? I mean, I would recommend you go check, but I would imagine that the venti is 20 ounces, the 30 is 30 ounces. That's just Italian. It's just the Italian word for 20 and the Italian word for 30. So for those of you who are familiar with that, it makes a nice easy transition into Spanish because 20 in Spanish is 20. 30 in Spanish is 30, right? It's just a slight difference. Do you guys have any questions about this?